There are two tiers of AI in the world today. There's the AI you rent and the AI you own. The closed AI we all rent is a powerful tool that knows a little bit about everything. But then there's the specialist AI that elite teams build, a true expert in its domain, trained on their data to create a real competitive advantage. But what if creating your own expert model was as easy as uploading a file? This is a Tool Use Deep Dive on Augmentoolkit. Today we're joined by Evan Armstrong, the creator of Augmentoolkit. Evan, welcome. Can you tell us about your project?
Augmentoolkit lets you customize AI, basically controlling its knowledge or its skills. So this is not done with context. You don't have to prompt it or do some special search to pull in the information you need. This is all Augmentoolkit's all about adding stuff into the model's brain, enhancing its fundamental capabilities, which has some advantages that prompting and context retrieval stuff doesn't have, but also can be combined with these. So Augmentoolkit acts as an additional quality improvement, a force multiplier on top of any existing approaches you might be using. For instance, if RAG fails to pull in the correct knowledge, a model that has memorized that knowledge anyway can just see that the retrieved documents don't have the information it's looking for and then be like, oh, so these don't contain what I need, but I remember that this information is this, and here's the final answer. And so it acts as you don't want to have a factual expert model that you're serving to users that doesn't actually know anything of the facts that it is trying to recite to them. It's like giving a new student a textbook and saying, hey, write the final exam. Augmentoolkit is like taking a PhD student that's already taken all the courses and understands things, and then asking them to answer the question instead. And you can also, of course, give the PhD the textbook and they'll be able to read it better because they have been trained on it. So that's kind of what Augmentoolkit does, but for LLMs. And that's the factual side. Augmentoolkit can also train models to be better at literally any task you can imagine with its reinforcement learning bit. So it's kind of the high-level explanation. To be if you're technical and want to be more specific, Augmentoolkit is a data generation and LLM training tool. Most of its pipelines are geared towards training facts, so they generate factual data, both conversational and continued pre-training, and then it uses Axolotl to do some actual training of the model, automatically downloads and prepares everything for inference, and even makes it easy to share with stuff like inference servers that set up the prompt correctly, and even a Discord pipeline that lets you put it on Discord servers. So really a convenient tool for people to get started with fine-tuning, and also good for researchers who don't want to go and build a data generation pipeline every single time. It has some nice abstractions, and also good for organizations that want to deploy specialist models, not get extorted by big labs that charge them way too much money for each token, and for when they want these models to actually know what they're speaking of. That's what Augmentoolkit specializes in. So that's kind of what its real deal is, yeah.
Awesome. And just before we get into seeing how Augmentoolkit actually works, could you just walk us through if someone wanted to fine-tune before Augmentoolkit was an option? What type of steps would they have to go through? What's involved with it? Why does this make it so much easier?
Yeah, for sure. Augmentoolkit fundamentally is a data generation tool pipeline. Data is the hard part of training models. As anyone who has trained models before will know, if you want to kick off a training run, you add your data and you set your hyperparameters and you go. But you add your data, and so you need data to add. If you want to train a model to understand the facts, that approach has it's actually that takes a lot of experimentation to figure out. Augmentoolkit has had a year and a half of development put into it to make that process really solid. But the type of data you add, the structure of it, the ways that you attack the problem and show the AI how to do a task, it can take quite a while to make the automatic AI-powered pipelines that will create conversations for the AI to be trained on so that it can learn to do that thing. Often, the big lab approach has been to just hire a bunch of people and have them manually make conversations. And honestly, the quality of those conversations is often lackluster, and obviously hiring a bunch of people to write enough text to train a full AI is going to be quite expensive and annoying, not to mention you either have to manage all those people you've hired or get a third-party firm to do it. Augmentoolkit uses a tried and true and automated with LLMs approach that works as simply as you upload some documents and click a button, and then it will generate all your domain expert data and train a model on that data. And it will even serve it for inference so that you can get started chatting with it right away. So before Augmentoolkit, you have to either hire people or do a bunch of engineering work to build the data pipelines and figure out how to make the right kinds of data. Whereas after Augmentoolkit, you can simply use the project as is, upload some documents, and you're already there.
Amazing. And one thing I just want to give a big shout out to is it's open source, MIT license. Anyone can pick this up. And one area that I think a lot of people sometimes get confused about is, like you said, a lot of people will pay a lot of money to have this happen. And all of a sudden you release this free gift to the world. What was the motivation? What made you decide to build it?
Yeah, well, Augmentoolkit is currently mostly about facts. You can teach models with reinforcement learning how to do tasks better too, but fundamentally the kind of big goal around Augmentoolkit is to let people align AI to their own use cases and to their own preferences. So individuals and organizations controlling their own AI and controlling how it acts. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to alignment, I believe, and in order for Augmentoolkit to fulfill this vision, it has to be open source. If people are going to be training their own AI, if people are going to be fine-tuning it, aligning it to their use case, to their task, if they're going to control their thing, and if they're going to be comfortable with a process that is transparent, the only way the Augmentoolkit can fulfill that vision is for it to be open source. And I also kind of want to breathe some life back into the open source, indie fine-tuning community. Way back in the day, the days of the Blokes Discord server being really big, there's a tight-knit community of AI creators working on and hacking on all the absolute frontier. People like Akari, people like Griff, Doc Shotgun, King Bry, etc. This crowd, I feel like they've all succeeded and gone off into their own corners, but that in the creative spirit of we're all gonna go and get together and fine-tune models and share the cool stuff we're doing, they kind of got nuked a bit by model merging, and then the Frontier Labs kind of got ahead. So I want to kind of let people fine-tune models again and actually get good results with it, because the meta has kind of shifted towards prompting and RAG and such. But that's just because data has been heard, and Augmentoolkit makes data easy, so therefore fine-tuning becomes much easier too. It's a good starting point for anyone who wants to push fine-tuning forward, and so I think it's gonna hopefully make that area of the field exciting again as well.
Fires me up. I love to hear it. Would you mind showing us a demo? Let's see how this thing works.
So here I have open in my terminal just the Augmentoolkit project, the latest update. Augmentoolkit has a bunch of wonderful, nice start scripts that make running it very easy. So, for instance, there's a local linux.sh, which would do local dataset generation. Augmentoolkit comes packaged with a local dataset generation model. Augmentoolkit trained the model to run Augmentoolkit. Since Augmentoolkit is an LLM-powered pipeline, a series of steps that are powered by LLMs, those steps are prompts, and I trained a model to run those steps. It's the 7B, so you can generate data on your local computer. But I am on a Mac right now, so I'm going to run macOS.sh. This will go do a bunch of things. Unless your computer is absolutely from scratch, and quite possibly even then, this will set up everything that you need. Here we have the Augmentoolkit interface, and we can see our various tabs, and in the top right, we see a red dot and says DataGen server. This just means that there's no local dataset generation server running. Augmentoolkit can use APIs or something running on your local computer. So here we're going to go into our config manager. Most of these correspond to a specific pipeline. So but the main thing we're going to look at right now is the two kind of start here, quick start configs. These control the settings for a pipeline, and depending on the pipeline, there can be quite a few settings. This is the most complex pipeline. This pipeline is a composition of all the other pipelines that will generate and train a factual expert model for you. So, what is an Augmentoolkit pipeline? An Augmentoolkit pipeline is literally just a Python function, and configs literally just pass in keyword arguments to that Python function. Augmentoolkit, of course, comes with a bunch of abstractions and makes it very nice and easy to make your own data generation pipelines. That's in line with the goal of letting people fine-tune their own models and make their own data and making data easy. But the fact that these are Python functions and configs just apply arguments means that creating new pipelines is very easy, and understanding what's going on is also decently easy. So each of these is an argument. Things that we need to fill in are marked with placeholder, and things that are potential footguns are marked with attention. You can run it whenever, but we need to fill in the placeholders first, because otherwise it will break EML syntax. So here's where I'll have some work ahead of me in the future, because in order to run the Augmentoolkit pipeline, I'll have to fill in the API keys here. And since I'm recording that, you know how it is. But I didn't use environment variables because those can be annoying for some new people to use, and this is meant to be easy to use. So yeah, I will go over to a config that I had filled out before, which is this one, and has all my secrets. And this will... I'll give you a bit of a walkthrough through what this config is doing, because there are a lot of settings here and it can be maybe a bit overwhelming. So this is going to generate and train a factual expert LLM on some of the U.S. Army field manuals. So the reason I chose those is because they're like the U.S. Army documents things very well. They have a lot of documentation. It's very detailed, and it starts from the ground up and really gives you all the information you need. So LLMs training those tend to do very well. And we can see that this pipeline is drawing its input data from inputs, examples, facts. So this is where the add documents comes in. You just add documents to inputs, so examples, facts, in here. You're going to train a model on all these documents.
Sorry, I noticed all those are TXT files. Does their data have to be TXT, or what type of file formats can you upload to?
No, it takes PDF, docx, JSON-L, HTML. It takes a bunch of different things, and we're going to add more as that goes on. The reason why it's all TXT files is because TXT is small, and I wanted to minimize the time that it takes to clone this project on GitHub. So these are part of the quick start, and the quick start is meant to, like, I don't want people having to go and download files themselves on the quick start. So these are like prepackaged with the project in the examples here, but because of TXT, they're nice and small, and it stops the project from being bloated. But yeah, you can take anything here. In fact, there's a PDF conversion pipeline that like does OCR and then cleans it up. That's like the first step of the Augmentoolkit pipeline.
Super cool.
So we are going to go and kick this off, except because I've run this before, I just need to change the output here to since this is a Monaco text editor that's running in here, you can do find a place, you can do multiple cursors like this, you can do all the standard VS Code type things that you'd want to do to make editing easy. I'll call this my second dataset. And Augmentoolkit will also automatically push your model to the Hugging Face hub when it's finished training. So like this means that you don't need to do any manual stuff around like SSHing into the hardware that you've rented and like then logging into Hugging Face and uploading it there. It's all automated. So then you click run, and then we go into the pipeline monitor page, which will start things off. And yeah, and then this will progress. There's a lot of data to generate when it comes to training a model. So this will take, even if you're using an API, this will take a number of hours. So probably can't show the entire thing here. There are a number of demo models on the Augmentoolkit Hugging Face page, including the one that is created by running through the quick start. So if you don't want to spend a bit of money to go and make your own model on the field manuals of the US Army, you can just check out what this would produce on the Augmentoolkit Hugging Face, and that will be there.
Just about the config, as someone who has very limited experience with fine-tuning, I understand the basics.
Yeah.
How much of these should I actually pay attention to? How much are, sensible defaults so you can just leave and forget about it?
Yeah.
How would I approach doing this for the first time?
Yeah, so the quick start comes with all the sensible defaults. The things you need to pay attention to have attention marked on them. Like, I'll go to the one that's not the like quick start, the complete factual thing here. This is like a template. This is not like preset to use the US Army. This is like whatever new documents you have, you can like. It basically has placeholders wherever, like in more areas. The quick start fills in some things because it knows what data set we're generating. This is like where you'd start if you're going from scratch. But Augmentoolkit tries to make fine-tuning easy, and so it follows more policy of the sensible defaults are in by default, and then if you know what you're doing and you want to customize it further, like if you want to customize your training arguments, you can add things to customize rather than changing things to customize in lots of cases. But anything that has a tension mark to it is something that you might want to look at first, and it's always commented to explain why you're paying attention to this. Anything that's not attention is probably good to leave as it is, unless you see something in the README that tells you should change it under these circumstances. So, for instance, variation generation counts, you might want to increase that if you have a very small amount of data. That's explained in the README. Generally, if you want to know, like, if you're getting started, the config and the placeholders and attention will just guide you through that. But if you want further grounding, I suppose, you can always just go to the documentation. There's a big, fat README in the project, like this, and then you check the table of contents. Say, for instance, you want to learn about the Discord hosting pipeline, which is a utility pipeline. There's like a full explanation, field by field explanations of the configs. Like what every single field does is documented. So if you're curious about what something does, if you don't know what a setting does, then you can check that documentation page for that pipeline, and everything will be there. Usability was a priority with the design of this.
Excellent. And yeah, that was a phenomenally well documented project. And I had someone on Tool Use not that long ago who was explaining how to use Cursor as a learning tool. And having a repo like this in could be a very valuable asset just for people learning about how to fine tune in general.
Yeah. Like, also the README and docs also happen to be good AI context. So if you're making your own data generation pipeline, for instance, you can probably feed in the pipeline primer and pipeline conventions documents. And then the AI will know to not make sloppy stuff that breaks the conventions of the project. It will actually be able to make stuff that fits into it. And you can also even, like, if you want to go fast, you could just like have AI edit the example pipeline, which is an annotated boilerplate that you can start from that can turn into basically any data generation pipeline that you want. So yeah, AI friendly project and READMEs and documentation are very important. Overall.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's clear you put a lot of thought and effort into this. I'm curious about why made you chose the services you did. Like I saw there was RunPod in there, weights and biases. Of the multitude of options we have out there, why did you select those ones?
RunPod, I like RunPod. I've used it a lot. I've sacrificed thousands of dollars to the RunPod gods. I've tried Vast and some other competitors like Lambda, Prime Intellect. RunPod is simple. You rent the pod and you go, and the pod usually works and it usually deploys right, and they have good images, and they have affiliate links. And unlike something like Vast, I've lost too much data and too many training runs using other things, and I've had too much frustration with other things that my choice of RunPod is like my choice for Deepin for my default API inference provider. It works. It does what it says in the tin. It's not too flashy, and it works, which is sometimes not a given in AI. As for weights and biases is the gold standard. If you want to have fancy graphs to tell you how your model's learning, you use weights and biases.
Nice. And one other thing that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about is I thought I noticed in the config that the default model was Mistral.
Yes.
What models can it support? And then do you have like recommendations for what people should go with?
Yeah, so this is something that is actually very surprising to people. It's like, why is the default base model that you train on Mistral 7b v0.2? That model's like ancient. It might be older than me at this point. That's a very good question with a subtle answer. So what models can it support? Anything that the GPU can fit. So Llama, like Quen, KWQ, any of these things, it can support that. It just needs to be a Hugging Face, and that is a very broad net. Why Mistral and what models do you want to use? That is a different question. So, Mistral is, in my opinion, better than Llama for fine-tuning. This is because of, I think, the way that the model training meta has gone. People have been gaining performance in their models by throwing more data at them for longer. Llama was trained on an obscene number of tokens. What that means is that the model suffers from a bit of what's called catastrophic overtraining. To put it in more simple terms, it's a bit inflexible. It's learned so much that it's kind of harder to shift away from the position it's reached. And so if your objective is to teach models new facts, it's like you're painting. You want to start with a blank canvas. You don't want to start with something that has all these colors in that you need to paint over, and it will look a bit uglier. I found that Llama is worse at learning and is more stubborn than Mistral. Mistral's just a very good base model. It's not trying to benchmark max or just you solve problems by throwing tons of data at it. It's nice and trained enough that it has a good understanding that you can use as a foundation, but not trained too much so that it actually messes with your fine-tuning later. So that's why I chose Mistral as a base. I recommend Mistral as a base. I think Mistral Nemo would probably also work if you want to have more parameters for it. But generally, try to use things that, for one, have a license that you like. So either Mistral or one of the Chinese models, or and two, try to avoid models that have been trained for a very long time, like Llama 3, which was trained for a very, very long time. Overall, but really to tell if a model is going to work well, you'll want to try it, training on it yourself, and then see if it worked well or not. Fundamentally, you can never really know with ML until it's an iteration game usually. I mean, there are some things that, some equations to formulate that you can use to calculate some hyperparameters, but you gotta try it. But use those as heuristics. Don't use overtrained things. Use things that are a good canvas, a good baseline. When in doubt, Mistral 7b 0.2 works nicely for a lot of stuff. And that's a good context length too. 32k is not bad for most use cases. So yeah, if I want to look at catastrophic overtraining, there's a good paper on this. Catastrophic overtraining is here. Overtrained models are harder to fine-tune. Kind of makes my point for me. If a model has a lot of data thrown at it, then it will be more inflexible when it comes time to customize. And this is kind of ironic, right? I suppose there's going to be some implicit disrespect to the Llama team. They were, not too much. Llama it's positioned as this great open source avatar, but to get more performance on benchmarks, they threw more data at it, which made the open source model harder for people in the open source community to customize. So it's an ironic way that it's progressed, and in this case, old can still be good. Mistral 7b is not antiquated because your data is modern, and any model that's trained on a task will necessarily get good at that task. When you're making specialists, you don't need to rely or lean on generalist performance to get there. If your data represents what you want the LLM to do, then the LLM will get good at that task. So you can just use that.
One thing that I'm thinking, just when I spin this up for myself, I go through the process, model comes out, and it sucks. Do I just focus on changing the base model? Is there other strategies or approaches where I can kind of iteratively try to get to a state I'm happy with? What would the debugging of a tuned model be?
How do you iterate on the model to make it good when things have gone wrong? That depends very much on what specifically has gone wrong. Usually my approach is so this is where Augmentoolkit kind of comes in handy, but because its sensible defaults won't lead to most of the classes of problem that can be encountered. The way to debug a model is usually to chat with it a bit, see what is going wrong with the generations. and then try to use your past experience and intuition to determine what might be causing that, and then to adjust either your data or your hyperparameters to counter that. So with Augmentoolkit, there's really only one problem that you're likely to run into with your training when you use the defaults, and that is a lack of data. So if the model is when you're chatting with it, if you observe, so here's a work example of looking at the chats and then observing a problem and then correcting it. So you finish training a model, you look at your chats, the model is not following its output format of thought process and then final answer well enough, and it doesn't really look like the data that you trained it on. And say you've trained it on like a small handful of documents from like some fictional universe or something that you want the model to become an expert in, or some company knowledge base that like, you want the model to know how your company does things. What the likely cause is, if the model is not following the output format, is just like verging on incoherence and stupidity. Specifically, if it's not following the output format but is not incoherent and stupid too much, it's likely that you haven't trained it enough. And that the reason why you haven't trained it enough, like you haven't trained it for enough optimizer steps, the reason why that has happened, you could intuit, is because there has not been enough data that you've trained it on. So in that case, so once you've like intuited out the problem, either from past experience or because some helpful person in a helpful interview is telling you that this is a common problem that you can run into, once you have a hypothesis for what the problem is, you change settings to adjust for that, and then you train again and you observe the results. So if we check that cursor, I'm just going to go and open up this in cursor so that I can show you the part of the documentation that tells you to look out for this. The bit about, here, note before you start training. What you can adjust are sample packing, or the number of factual SFT generations to do, and variation generation counts if you run into this problem of not enough data. So if my hypothesis is, I haven't trained on enough data, then I could go here, I could bump this number, variation generation counts, up much higher. I could increase this number, or I could go down to my fine-tuning keyword arguments and pre-training keyword arguments, and go like, I want my what would it be? Sample packing to be not on. This is like the nuclear option. And so with those, I would be attacking the problem of, the model just has not learned the task for long enough. If an optimized step is a step that the model takes towards understanding the task, if there's too little data, the model won't take enough steps and it won't reach a proper understanding of the task. There's nothing wrong with the data, there just isn't enough of it. Say another case where you have trained for too long, possibly in too little data. That's where you have both poor output format following, and the model is like stupid and incoherent. Like it's lost some of its pre-training knowledge and abilities. In that case, you've probably trained for too long, and the fact that noisy embedding fine-tuning is on has caused the model to just become noise and lose all its smarts. It's obvious when something's gone very wrong. If your data looks fine and something's gone and your model is not fine, then there's an issue with the training. If the settings look fine and the optimizer step count looks fine, but the model isn't doing well, that's probably a data thing. And if you solve data things by looking at the generated data, which you can just do by, the data is just JSON-L files, you can just go to the outputs folder and like look at any of these outputted things and say, is this how I want things to look? Like visual inspection. So you solve data problems like that, you solve hyperparameter problems like that. It all starts from looking at the outputs of the model and use your past experience, intuition, and the documentation, README, and other information to guide your interpretation of the problem.
And on the note of data, is there a general rule of thumb for the volume of data you need? Is it dependent on the model you choose, or how would someone gauge if they have enough data before taking a swing at training a model?
Good question. I'd say probably about at least 50 optimizer steps in the continued pre-training. Probably 100 or so is something to at least aim at, and 100 to 100 to the low end to like 200. No, you can go much higher for at least 100 optimizer steps in the supervised fine tuning, I'd say, with the default Augmentoolkit settings, which too large to enumerate here, but it's really mostly about the optimizer step count when you're talking about the amount of data, and with Augmentoolkits like batch size and etc. Look at the like at least 50 in the pre-training and at least 100 in the SFT, and you can see how many optimizer steps there are when when a model's being trained. It'll pop up here. You'll see a progress bar like this, except it'll be during the pre-training state when it's like at 51% complete, and it will say like 0 out of 100 or 0 out of 200, and that'll be how many optimizer steps you have. Do you have enough data that the model can't fit it in the current, that the training can't fit it in the current batch size? It's like how much. So like, okay, so sample packing's on. So the way this works is like the model has its context length, and if we're training on a single sample with sample packing off, then you like would be taking, if you have batch size 1 and your model has like a context length that's like whatever, and sample packing's off, then since batch size is 1, it'll be going over one like data sample at a time. And if I add like 800 samples, I would have 800 optimized steps. What sample packing does is it's like, okay, the model has a context length that we've set at like 5,000, and so this is only like say this is 1,000 tokens. What we'll do is we'll pack the model's context length with 5 of these samples and do 5 things at once and do things more efficiently. So then if batch size 1 and sample packing on context length 5,000, you would train on 5 bits of data at once, and then 800 divided by 5 would be about your number of optimizer steps. If your batch size is 150, then you just do 150 of those at once, and then like 150 of those sample packed groups at once for even more efficiency, and then however many groups of 5, however many groups of 150 groups of 5 there are in the data set would be a good number of optimized steps. So you can see how like a lot of data can become very few optimized steps depending on the settings. But that's about like kind of the rough intuition for it, yeah.
Nice. And you had mentioned earlier with the Army manual example,
Yes.
that it's structured in a way that's like good for training. Are
Yes.
there any other best practices people should consider with their data to optimize the way the model will pick up?
Yeah, that's a good question. Generally, if it's explained well for a human, the AI will be able to learn it as well. Vague definitions or like poor wording that can confuse the meaning of things, errors or like spelling issues in the text that make it hard to understand, like make it hard to learn what like facts are actually attributed to which thing, especially spelling errors in things that aren't actual normal English words. We don't want the LLM to learn that the misspelled version of the thing is the true thing. Like if you have someone's name that you've invented and that name is misspelled, then you don't want, the LLM has no idea of what is the correct thing. So just general polish, but if it's well structured and clear and polished, then that should be good. Fundamentally, an advantage of Augmentoolkit is that you can throw most kinds of data at it because it uses LLMs to transform raw data into structured things. So even if your raw data just like is some kind of messy thing that contains the information, it will still work, but make certain that the information contained within your text is not vague, and you can push forward just fine from there.
We've got the data figured out. We go through the process. Once the model's trained, what's next? It gets pushed to Hugging Face. How do we use it?
Yeah, so once the model is trained, it will automatically get pushed to Hugging Face. And then if you've, by default, that model will then be downloaded from Hugging Face onto your computer, and Augmentoolkit will quantize it and prepare it for inference. And when that's ready, this progress bar will show 100%, and the chat icon will be pulsing white here. That's when it pulses white when the inference server is ready. So you can go chat with it, and then like converse with the model, test that it works. From there, you'll have the FP16 model files and the GGUF model file, and you can run them, say for instance, like with VLLM, which is pretty good for model inference. You can go to RunPod and use RunPod serverless endpoints to host them. You can find that over in RunPod serverless here. Your models can just use a VLLM Docker image here, and that will let you get an OpenAI compatible endpoint with your model. Or you can go and like rent a pod and use something like VLLM to get a always on model endpoint, so they don't have the cold start delay that comes with serverless. You have a lot of options, and from there it's mostly in your hands because Augmentoolkit does not know what your specific application is. But running it locally, you can use the chat interface to use it yourself. You can host it if you're an organization, or if you are an individual, or you have a Discord server in your organization. There are some fun things. The utility pipelines. So you can actually, Augmentoolkit gives you the ability to host a model that you train on a Discord server for like your friends or community to interact with. So this can be a great way to like share your creation with other people using a pre-built thing. So all you need to do then is you can run the LLM that you've trained with one of the two inference servers that is also utility pipeline, the LLM server or the VAG server. You can see the configs for these over here. It's a very simple one. Just point at your prompt, your template. These are automatically generated by the Augmentoolkit training pipeline. And then point at your model folder, and then you'll get an inference server that you can run your model with. And then once you run the Discord thing, this will use that inference server to put a Discord bot up, and like with the correct settings, and you can then have your model not be something that's just constrained to like only chatting with you with this like chat interface. You can actually make it like put it in the world, let people use it. That's a great way to like make some community engagement. If you have a bunch of data that you want to make a model on, and you have a Discord community, you can easily add it there. Or if you're just like an individual and you want to, you train this cool thing and you want to show it off to the people you know, then you can do that as well. So yeah, and the whole process of making a Discord bot is explained in the README and in the config file. So you have a lot of options basically. You can share it on Discord with the pre-built pipelines, or you can use RunPod serverless stuff, or you can have use Azure or whatever. You have a model files, it's your choice.
I think that's awesome. And actually, I'm glad you brought the Discord bot. So there is a tool use Discord community.
Oh yeah. I think I'm in it.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. I would actually love it if we could kind of get a little concrete and just say, okay, I have about 50 tool use videos right now. I have the transcripts for them. I git pull down Augmentoolkit. How do I go from just having these TXT files of the transcript all the way to a Discord bot that you can chat with in the tool use server?
Yeah, sure. So start the interface as seen, like bash macOS.sh or whatever thing, like whatever OS you're on. Go to inputs, use a file system, make a new folder, name it something, add your files from upload to that, and then in your configs, go with probably the complete factual dataset template here. Turn all the subsets off. All these things that use subset, turn them off. This is for like making sure the data works, but we can assume the data will work and then turn these off. set, like, fill in all placeholders. So this would be about tool use podcast. That's like the topic of the AI that it's being trained on. And then, like, yeah, fill in all your API key things for deep info, so that you can actually generate the data, and add your Hugging Face username here. This will be a placeholder. I realize I forgot to do that now. And then you just run it, and then you'll have your data generation. You'll get your model files in Augmentoolkit / models here. So it'll show up in this folder, models, and then you can just go to your either your rag server or your basic server. Go and point the prompt path at the prompts.txt file, which will be in your the outputs folder for that thing that you generated, and the template path also in the same folder, pointed at that, and point the GTOF model path at the model that you trained, which will just be in that models folder again. Run that server in another window, open up the Discord thing, and which would be where did I put it? Yeah, here we go. In a like eternal window or something, go and just add your Discord bot credentials. Follow the instructions in the README so that you can actually make a Discord bot, and then you can connect Augmentoolkit to that bot using these two things here. And then once you run this at the same time as the basic server, you will have a Discord bot operational on your server. Like the process of inviting the Discord bot is explained in the README. You can see in the README docs, Discord. You go to the Discord developer portal and set some stuff up. The links are given. Every exact page you need to go to is explained. So basically, you run on one hand. So after training the model, you run the basic server, just filling these things in, and then you go probably somewhere else. You have to run both things at once. You have to run the basic server and the Discord at once. So you can use the CLI to run the Discord half of it. And once those two things are running at once and your bot is invited to the server, again, just follow the documentation page. Then your bot will be interactable by all the members of your community. It's worth noting that the bot will at that point be running on your computer. So if your computer is not able to run it, then you'll need to find another computer. It's a 7B that you're training, so you should be able to run it. So long as you have any CPU VRAM, not VRAM, any CPU RAM at all, you should be able to run it. And if you close your laptop, it will turn offline because the code's on your computer. But yeah, that's the process. Train your model, turn it on a basic server or a RAG server. RAG servers just set up retrieval augmented generation as well. And then run the Discord server, and it will automatically, everything will be handled if you've created the Discord bot properly.
That's exciting. That's now on my to-do list, so just give me something else to do. I got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
I feel like you've done a great job explaining it, so I'm kind of more interested in the future of where Augmentoolkit is going. One thing that comes up frequently with people is rather than fine-tune an entire model is to fine-tune an adapter so that you can kind of hot swap it and go faster. Is that something it's capable of on the roadmap, or not interested?
And that's a very good question. There are so can you do it? I believe yes, because when you are training a model, you have access to the fine-tuning keyword arguments and pre-training keyword arguments here. So this is literally just these will literally just get put in your the axolotl config. We use axolotl for training, so this will get put in your axolotl config when the model is actually training is kicked off. You can put the settings there that will make this into a LoRa, and you can do LoRa training right now with Augmentoolkit for facts. And with the GRPO pipeline, that thing that we haven't mentioned too much, but the kind of other side of it, which is about training models on arbitrary tasks. So that would be that is here. this is like reinforcement learning, and this currently trains LoRa's as its default. You need to run this on the computer with a bit more like heavy duty compute because you're actually doing the training on your computer with this one. But this currently does the LoRa. The question is though, with the main thing that Augmentoolkit does, which is facts, do you want to use the LoRa? The reason why I'm not like rushing towards making this a default is because factual fine-tuning is, in some ways, uses a bit of brute force. We throw a lot of epochs and a decent chunk of data at the model. The fewer parameters we are training, the harder it is for the model to actually memorize that information. There's just less brain that we're allocating to, like, that we're fitting on the data. So LoRa's will generally be less effective, and that's why the default is full parameter fine-tuning. You can use LoRa. The setting, like the way to change your training config is available, but I would not recommend it necessarily, unless you're reinforcing a domain that the model already knows. But if you want the capability of training on an entirely new area, probably don't use LoRa.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep, good general advice. What do you see as the long-term vision for Augmentoolkit?
Augmentoolkit is all about... It's about that alignment issue. There's no one-size-fits-all behavior for LLMs that would work. Individuals need to have control over the way that their models behave, organizations need to have control over the way that their models behave, and they need to have stable checkpoints that don't change on them. They need to be able to iterate on their models, know what's going into them, control their checkpoints, and control their behaviors. And so Augmentoolkit does facts right now, and it does them pretty well. It can do them better, and I have some ideas around that, but it does them well enough for now. The direction Augmentoolkit's going in, and we already have a beta for the GRPO reinforcement learning pipeline in the project as well, is training on tasks and really making it more of a sandbox rather than a single-use tool. So right now, there is the GRPO beta. You can see some example configs that... what this is basically... Reinforcement learning is about the model does things, and you grade how it does those things, and then it does things more like responses that were graded highly. So the thing that typically does the grading in more traditional ML is a reward function. Augmentoolkit lets this be much more easy to use and customizable by making an LLM the reward function. So if you write a prompt that grades responses a certain way, you can make the LLM like... You can train an LLM to get higher scores on that grading prompt. So for instance, here included with that GRPO pipeline are some example configs for making the model more emotional and human sounding. We gave it this prompt that was like, be more emotional, evaluate it along these criteria and give it a score, and then trained that model with the GRPO pipeline, and then it became much more human sounding. This could be for any imaginable task, and this is where it kind of turns into more of a sandbox than a single-use tool. More of a thing for people to build off of than just oh, we use this for facts. Because you could grade it on, like, if you have a structured data extraction, like, pipeline where you're using an LLM as a part of it, then you could grade it on how well it extracts structured data. You could train a model to do literally any task better with this, and that's kind of the direction that I want to take Augmentoolkit in. Like, more of a flexible thing that people can build off of. That's also why so much work is put into making the abstractions, which are mostly in here, really good. And why so much work was done to document like the conventions and the project structure and how to use the abstractions to make your own pipelines. Because there are specialist models are so much more capable and useful for building serious things that the Augmentoolkit's mission is to make building these specialists easy straight up, by making building data easy. So the direction that's headed in is more of a sandbox, which the functionality already exists, and more of a hopefully as the community starts using it, as starts building their own things, Augmentoolkit will get a real ecosystem going, and we can all make custom data pipelines, custom models, share them with each other, have easy distributed inference for them, and generally advance the field in that way. So that's kind of some of a teaser of the direction it's headed in. There's also some really exciting stuff coming up. I've partnered with Alignment Lab AI to kind of help the open source do this all locally side of it. Since you can do data generation locally, there's some cool stuff coming up around hardware, where we bring very effective hardware to people, so that they can make models without spending a dime, because that you don't have to rent RunPod if you have a powerful GPU yourself. So there's some good stuff coming up around that too.
What a teaser. I mean, so I'm thrilled about this. I think the mission is solid. I think the approach is solid. For people to get involved, start using it, engage with this ecosystem you're building, where can they find you?
Go to your nearest search engine and look up Augmentoolkit. That is spelled Augmentoolkit, one word, Augmentoolkit. And you'll see the GitHub repo. Go to the GitHub repo, follow the quick start instructions here. It's meant to be very easy to use, just 3 lines and you get already up and running. And then you can start making data and experimenting. If you want to find me, you can go to the contact section here. I have everything from my calendar link to my Discord. There's an Augmentoolkit Discord server as well, where you can ask questions and get support and share the cool stuff you're building, especially. Yeah, there's all the information you could possibly need is on the README, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people build with this tool.
Oh, me too. Evan, this was a blast. Anything else you want to let the audience know before we let you go?
I feel like I did mostly a good job of covering the things I want to hit up. I suppose the one thing is, I'd like to reiterate the Discord thing, the Discord hosting thing, possibly was explained in a more rambling, roundabout way than I would have liked by me. It really is simpler once you just try it, get using it. All the config files and everything, they have comments explaining what you put in every field. The placeholders are there to show you what you need to fill in. So just follow the README and you'll make it there. Sharing a model on Discord is really fun and it's a cool experience, and I recommend that you do that. If you don't really have a use case that's factually oriented, the GRPO pipeline is also very well documented, and it's much more of a sandbox thing, as I said before. So do try that out. Most of the stuff we talked about today is facts, but GRPO is really, really powerful and cool, and it's very open-ended with what you can do with it. So if you want to play around with custom models, try GRPO. And yeah, I think that's all I really have on my mind.
Perfect. And you know what? I'm going to make a demo of going from data to Discord bot, and I'll let you know if your explanation was good enough or not.
Hell, if it's not, hit me up in the DMs and I'll help you with getting that running. But yeah.
Perfect. All right, Evan, have yourself a good day.
Thank you. You too, man.